Alright, so we're at Kaling here, and just to get something straight before we start, I always like to refer to things by the actual names that Maplestory gives them. A lot of people will simplify Kaling's perils as just what animal they are, saying bird, tiger, dog. I don't do that. Uh, I say Kyongi, Taowu, and Hundun, so just need to keep that straight. In that order, the bird is Kyongi, Taowu is the tiger, Hundun is the dog. And the big thing about this fight is that it's considered complicated by a lot of people because there is this sort of three-part gauge that you need to keep balanced throughout the whole fight. You have spring, you have summer, and you have fall, and it's organized such that spring is bottom right of the gauge, summer is bottom left, and fall is top. And you don't want any of these parts to hit 0 or 1000 for their value. Particularly if all three of them reach one of those thresholds, then you lose, because they will take away 350 of your willpower, of your 1000 total willpower, so that's always going to add up to being a loss. And so the way that the gauge works is that whenever you're hit by an attack by the corresponding peril, or peril's attack, or one of the colored strings that corresponds to a season, it's going to increment that portion of the gauge by taking some from the trailing portion of the gauge. And I think that's the part that makes this really easy to understand, is that really what's happening is that the gauges are cycling. So when you take a spring attack, it is stealing from fall to increment spring. So if you need to move around some of your peril, you need to think of it like that. So let's say you have really high summer, really low spring, and average fall. You need to take fall attacks to transfer some of that summer away, and then you're also going to need to take spring attacks to transfer some of the fall to spring, to try and balance things out again. And then this is a 3-phase fight. In the first phase, you're just going to be fighting the 3 perils. In the second phase, you're going to be fighting Kaling by herself, and in the third phase, we're going to put it all together and fight all 4 of them at once. During this first phase, if you can beat the perils, each one of them without losing balance of their respective domain, then they give you a little bit of a buff. By defeating Kyonggi like that, you get an extra life. By defeating Tao Wu, you will get a skill during phase 2 where you can remove a debuff that Kaling puts on you periodically. And then by defeating Hundun, you get 10% final damage. So with my strategy, I go after Hundun first. I don't like his mechanics, find him pretty annoying. I can nuke him in 20 seconds or so, just get him off the board, get that final damage buff. Then we go into Kyonggi, kill him, takes a couple minutes, go into Tao Wu, a few more minutes, and then we're on to phase 2. The important thing to know about phase 1 also is that while each peril is alive, they have an effect that will make the fight harder. Hundun being alive increases the damage that Tao Wu and Kyonggi do. I want to say it's a 25% scalar. While Kyonggi is alive, you will periodically lose a little bit of your willpower. So this is pretty important because willpower is your lives. He drains, I think, 20 every 45 seconds or so. So that's why you want to not deprioritize him. He's definitely like at least the second guy you want to kill. And then Tao Wu will periodically add a shield to the other 2 perils. I think it's 1% of their max health. At least here on easy, it is not much of a deal. So I think it is a pretty easy choice to put him as the 3rd priority. He's also the most annoying to fight of the 3, I would say. Like, I may not like Hundun's mechanics, but Tao Wu has a 50% damage reduction thing going on where you have to have him do attacks near these Tesla coils, make them connect in such that they form a triangle, and then when he's in the triangle, he loses his protection. So it can be annoying to damage him. His attacks are also harder to dodge, so when going into his part, I like to have Summer decreased a lot because I expect to get hit by him a lot. I'll try to do my best to sort of explain as we're going, but the more I talk, the less focused I am too. So I want to try to balance actually doing well with providing some useful information. I think that's all I'll cover for Phase 1 for now. Phase 2, you fight Kaling by herself. She likes to move around a lot. She has a teleport, she has a dash. All the attacks that increment the seasonal balance gauge are pretty enhanced. During the first phase, the amounts that increment, at least on easy, it's going to change based on difficulty. On easy, the amounts kind of range from maybe as low as 20-ish, like if it's a really wimpy attack, to up to 70. During part 2, though, you'll have some things incrementing the gauge by up to like 120-ish, somewhere in that amount. So you just want to be careful to not get wombo comboed a lot, because you can easily lose too much control over your seasonal gauge. And then it kind of reverts back in Phase 3, where the things that are the attacks don't really increment as severely, so you have more time to adjust to mistakes. So as far as attacks in Phase 2 are concerned, Kaling will use this scroll. She'll like seal you in a scroll if you get too close to her, to periodically use that. And while you're sealed in the scroll, you lose a little bit of your willpower. And I think you can get hit by the string attacks, but nothing else. So you're semi-invulnerable. So try not to play too close to her, or otherwise you're going to lose some willpower unnecessarily. And then the other big thing to know about is that every minute she does this attack where all over the map these little shades of her will explode, and they deal a pretty significant amount of damage, but they also sap some willpower for getting hit. I'm not the best at dodging this right now. You could just go Jenny iframe, because it doesn't last particularly long, but then again, it's also nice to be safe while you're bursting her. So again, kind of up to you. Other than that, Phase 2, not too scary, just try not to lose too much willpower. We'll see how I do it. And then in Phase 3, they have the perils arranged in the order Gyeonggi, Hundun, and Taowu. They've all been simplified to only have one attack because you have to deal with Kaling at the same time. And for the most part, these attacks aren't terribly dangerous, but they can be a little hard to dodge at times. Particularly Taowu's are quite dangerous if you get hit because they stun you. Gyeonggi's hits will apply a lot of knockback, and I don't really remember if Hundun's actually does anything interesting. Off the top of my head, it doesn't sound like it does. So they're each sectioned off right into thirds of the map, and depending on which third you're in, you will periodically gain a little bit of that peril's corresponding balance for the gauge. So you just want to make sure you're not somewhere where you already have a lot of that gauge filled to try to get rid of it. This also applies when that peril is dead. In fact, I believe the gauge change amount is doubled when the peril for that zone is dead. The other thing to know is that if Kaling is not in the same zone, that peril's attacks deal more damage, and I believe you are locked out of healing. So they sort of want you to fight with Kaling there, but if you also fight without Kaling, there's less to dodge. It's just more risky. If you're not dodging correctly, you take more damage, and you can't heal it away. I mean, we have familiars here. Healing familiars should be able to go through that, since that's how we roll here in GMS. What else? I think I would say P3, when the perils die, she also gains access to like another attack, I think, each time a peril dies. The first two are not really significant. When they're all dead, she does this attack where she will completely attack a zone, and it'll display on screen whose zone she's attacking. You want to not get hit by this. I don't remember if it just kills you or it takes a lot of willpower. I actually haven't been hit by it, so I don't remember. It's pretty easy to dodge here, but on the higher difficulties, I believe it's again split between easy normal versus hard extreme, where on easy normal she only attacks one of the 3 zones. On hard extreme she attacks 2, so I can see it being a lot harder there, especially because it is supposedly not iframeable, so you actually need to dodge it and not just be lazy and iframe it. Alright, so I think that's good. It's definitely considered one of the more complicated bosses, but when you understand the gauge as like a cycle, it becomes a lot less complicated. So let's go ahead and get into it here. I think I let my VIP buff drain just a little too much. I think it's around a 15-minute fight for me at my power, so let's go ahead and refresh that, as well as the other lower duration buffs. So uniquely, Kaling gives you the option to choose which peril you want to start in here. So in this case, I am going after Hundun first. That's Hundun down. Left portal here will take you to Gyeonggi, right portal would take you to Taowu. Taowu's attacks are pretty easy to dodge. I recommend just using whatever class-based dash you have to get away from them. I suppose I should also talk about those strings, just based on the color. The left side here are the green strings, and those will increment summer. The right side here are the yellow ones, those will increment fall. And then there's also red ones, not on this map though, because Gyeonggi already increments spring. So you'll see on Hundun and Taowu, there will be red ones to increment spring. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we want to kind of put some of our peril into spring or autumn, because Taowu is going to likely hit us more often. And I also need to mention that pattern there because it's very important that you do it correctly. All you need to do, just in my opinion, I would just use whatever full map attacks you have by them. There's 4 tears, 2 on each side. You just need to hit him before the timer runs out, otherwise he's going to insta-kill you with no ability to block it. So you can just cover each one with your full map attacks. And I think it's at this point I should try to take some of his attacks. Okay. So spring's looking fine, a little overtuned. And then take some summer away, put it in autumn. He doesn't hide very well. He's supposed to be hiding in the painting, but he's very easy to see. Okay, at this point, I am also letting him hit me a little too much for my taste. There's a lot of spring there. It could be easy to accidentally overbalance. If that happens, just let yourself get hit by green strings. But he's about to go down. There we go. So I'm set pretty well for Tao Wu in terms of my seasonal balance. Alright, so these big things are Tesla coils. They turn purplish when they're activated. And you just need to make sure 3 of them are activated. One annoying thing he does that the other guys didn't do is that he leaves around lightning puddles whenever he attacks. And those are a good way to, just get hit. He gets a lot of hits on you with that because it's hard to, or it can be easy to not pay attention to that as you're trying to pay attention to all the stuff that matters a lot more. And you can use these little ones if you NPC chat KM to kind of absorb the puddles. At least the ones that are nearby. And one of the main reasons I think Tao Wu is annoying because he really has a quick draw on one of his attacks, the one where he turns around and he slams his staff. Getting him to hit these things can be quite a pain. He needs to really have initiated the attack when he's right there. Okay, so that one got hit. You'll also notice there is an NPC chat key skill here. That is for when you're playing multiplayer, so you're able to lure him to where you are. So, not really much use there if you're playing solo. Need to get rid of some of that summer. Get rid of summer by taking fall. And then if we need to gain spring, we'll go to the other side of the map where the red strings are hitting. Which is probably... just barely missed it. It's probably worthwhile to do at this point. Also, keep in mind when you're up top here, he can hit you. Very annoying. You can't hit him with your basic attack if you don't have a lot of vertical spread on its hitbox. I don't have enough. I could use my full map attack skills to hit him, but not Phantom Blow. Okay, I'm not gonna do a burst here because I want to be able to burst down part 2 Kaling immediately. Okay, good. So that's all 3 perils done correctly, and if you also don't screw them up, you get a bunch of willpower restored there too. Like, it restores up to 300 or so. Alright, so she's going to include little bits of each of the prior fights, so there's like these spikes on the ground. You get too close to them, they'll damage you from Hundun's fight. Like, watch out for all the stuff you had seen previously. Oh, and Tao Wu's little acid puddle, or not acid puddles, but his lightning puddles will stun you if you get hit too many times consecutively by them. So that happened there, and it's very, very annoying because as I mentioned, they're just really easy to forget that they exist. Okay, so it looks like I'm getting low on a fall, so I can take a hit with this, it'll increment fall a bit. Better to get hit by the strings, those increment the most. Spirit Overload, we want to try to avoid getting hit by stuff as best as you can. And I kind of screwed up my Origin Burst by getting stunned. So I'm going to have to do a lot more of this phase than I normally would like to. You can see she's very wily. She likes to move around a lot. Okay, I got caught there. And then Spirit Overload's also happening. Use an iframe there. You can stay off to the side to avoid getting hit by those, because they only hit in playable area. Let's try and get a burst off here. Hopefully this will end the phase. Yeah, okay. Phase 3 I actually find to be much less stressful. Right now you can hit everybody in this fight when you use your Ascent. In a future patch that's going to go away, so feel free to abuse it for now or not. It's not, I wouldn't really say it's abuse, it's just that Ascents have a far reach, so they can really just hit everything and chunk them. But I guess I should also mention that Kaling's health is divided into chunks. You can only deal 25% until you defeat a peril, and it lets you proceed another 25%. So just keep that in mind. When you over-damage the perils like that, you waste a lot of damage that Kaling could have taken. Oh, and it also puts the shape of the peril above your head, just so you are clear as to which zone you are currently standing in. And you'll also notice that there is an NPC chat key skill you can use here. It's more for people who only are able to hit like a single target with their skills, because it makes sure that your attacks focus the peril of that section. Spring's built up a little much. We should be in summer. I have a burst available. Tao Wu looks like he's probably the healthiest here, so why don't we take care of him? Alright, so that unlocked another portion of Kaling's health. Might as well attack her here while I have my Ring of Restraint still up here. Okay, so summer is a little high. I want to do both spring and fall. I think I might have used up my extra life from Gyeonggi there. Let's just get away for a moment. Needed to check because I could not see my familiars. I actually thought I might have been fighting without them. It's just they're too transparent. And I think they're stuck on Hundun right now. Now there's a good few attacks I didn't go over here. I recommend just go to the wiki, right? Read up on what every little thing does. There's 2 different attacks coming up from the ground. There's all of Kaling's attacks here. You just gotta have a light understanding of what's going on. Like that attack with the wolf head there is like her most damaging, not insta-kill thing. Okay, so Hundun's dead, so just have to pay attention for when she overloads an area. But I can Origin Burst, and this probably means she's done for. Oh yeah, easy. Alright, and that is Kaling done and dusted. As I said, I really don't think she's that hard once you sort of internalize it that you are just rotating your seasonal balance around. So remember, if you have too much fall, you get hit by spring to cycle fall to spring. Too much spring, get hit by summer, cycle spring to summer. Too much summer, get hit by fall to cycle summer to fall. And that's all there is to it.